Hello there. Zero 360 was at WISE Accra, the largest gathering of stakeholders and leaders in the education industry. We had the opportunity to talk to some of the guests at the event about some of the problems in our education system and some of the solutions we can implement to ensure quality education in Africa.
My name is Stavros Yiannouka, and I am the Chief Executive Officer of the World Innovation Summit for Education, WISE. WISE was established by Qatar Foundation under the leadership of its co-founder and chairperson, Her Highness Sheikh Hamza bin Nasser, in 2009. It is a platform that supports and promotes innovation in education around the world through research, programs, and advocacy. The WISE Awards is a program that was launched also in 2009 alongside the forum that identifies and recognizes each year 6 innovative projects from around the world. We follow a fairly rigorous process, so projects need to apply and they need to satisfy certain criteria around innovation, sustainability, and impact. We have a pre-jury of international experts that makes a first selection of finalists, and then we have a jury of eminent persons from diverse fields, including, of course, education, that selects the winners each year. That's a very interesting and challenging question. There are so many priorities that it's hard to really pinpoint where one should focus. But if I had to identify 3 priority areas, I would say they would be early years support for mothers, because we know from the evidence that the strongest predictor of academic success and aptitude for children is the level of education of the mother. And there's evidence from research and projects from around the world that shows that if you intervene to support young mothers who may not have a very high level of education, or in many cases may not even have an education themselves, then you can actually predispose the children towards greater academic success. So that would be one area that I would focus on, and that requires community engagement. The second is I would focus very hard on the basics, literacy and numeracy, because one way to think about literacy and numeracy is these are the essential tools for education. Without these, it's very hard for anyone to learn anything. And then the third area that I would focus on is to provide diverse lifelong learning opportunities. Education should not be limited to schooling, and it should certainly not be limited to ages 7 to 18. It should really extend throughout the lifetime of the person and provide opportunities, even for those who may not have had the chance as children to receive an education, to go back to school. I think when we talk about leapfrogging, it usually means skipping a technology that may be outdated. In other words, technology need not move in a linear fashion. From telegrams to fixed line telephones to mobile phones. You can go from telegrams to mobile phones. I mean, that's the idea of leapfrogging. Now, in education, the challenge that we're facing, not just in Africa, but increasingly around the world, is that if we continue to look at education as a model that depends exclusively on the K to 12 school as it exists in most countries around the world, followed by the 4-year, 2-year, or 4-year college, followed by graduate school, followed by postdoctoral studies, then we simply are not going to be able to build enough schools, train enough teachers, build enough universities, train enough academics to meet the demands of a growing population. And that's particularly true on the continent of Africa, where we know that 50% of population growth is taking place here. By 2050, the continent will account for 40% of the world's children. So we need to think outside the box how we can deliver education without having to go through this process of building traditional schools. Technology can play a part, but so too can what I would call unpacking the education process, unbundling education, providing multiple pathways for people to gain an education throughout their lives and to continue learning throughout their lives.